Hey up everyone, in today's video we're going to be talking about the 5 fights that still haunt me to this day. But before we get started, I have got to say, if you have any video ideas for me, let me know in the comment section, and if I can make it into a video, I'll let you know when it has been uploaded, and it just helps out this channel a bit more as I get a bit more feedback into knowing what the viewers want to see. Let me know in the comment section, and now we'll get straight back into the video. To start off, we've gone with Justin Gaethje battering Tony Ferguson. What more do I need to say about this one? This is what started the downfall of Tony Ferguson. He got absolutely battered by Justin Gaethje. I think the fight, actually, I haven't watched it back since I watched it live during the COVID era. I think this might have been the first pay-per-view that we actually got during the COVID era. And yeah, this was brutal, man. And I think because it was like the first one in the Apex, you could hear every single shot, and it had like a different aura about it. It had like a different atmosphere. It was so weird, but you could hear every single shot landing. It was so grim, and it's just the way of a stoppage, the way that Tony Ferguson starts shaking his head, you know, and he gets called off. I don't know, it just rubs me the wrong way, and I've never been like a massive Tony Ferguson fan. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed his fights, I really did like him, but I wasn't like some massive Tony Ferguson fanboy. But this was still a hard watch, and knowing that the Tony Ferguson Khabib fight was officially gone after this just left a sour taste in everyone's mouth. You know, it was meant to be Khabib versus Tony, then Khabib wasn't able to make it due to COVID reasons. I can't exactly remember why, it was about 4 years ago now. So then it happened to be Justin Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson on short notice. And I don't think it helped this fight for Tony Ferguson. The fact that he cut weight twice. You know, he cut weight for Khabib. Obviously, the fight didn't happen. But for some reason, he still thought it would be a good idea to cut the weight, even though he knew the fight wasn't going to happen. And then he had to cut weight again to make the Justin Gaethje fight. And then again, he got battered. He had that moment of success. I think at the end of the second round when he landed, was it an uppercut against Justin Gaethje, and was able to wobble him at the end of the round. But other than that, it was all Justin Gaethje, and he put an absolute beat down on Tony Ferguson and started this decline we've seen from Tony Ferguson, where he hasn't won a fight since, what, 5 years ago maybe? He's on like a 7 or 8 fight losing streak, and everyone wants him to retire now. So yeah, this is definitely a sad one. I don't think how I could make a list and this doesn't haunt anyone or sadden anyone. You know, I say haunt, it's pretty much just sad losses, and this is definitely up there in the top 5 for me. Another loss what got to me was Petr Yan losing to Merab Dvalishvili. Now, this just hurt me a lot. I'm a mega Petr Yan fanboy. He is my favourite fighter. And watching him get dominated for 5 rounds was so painful, especially considering he actually did well when it came to defending takedowns. How many did Merab attempt again? And I can't remember how many he succeeded with. He just kept spamming takedowns. It was so frustrating to watch. And Petr Yan just couldn't do anything about it. And it was so... I think this is why it haunts me to this day. I just remember how much it frustrated me. How much it made me so angry. It just really did my head in. And I can never forgive Merab for this. He's done in 3 of my favourite bantamweight fighters. Petr Yan, Marlon Moraes, and Jose Aldo. Well, Jose Aldo is just one of my favourite fighters of all time. But he still fought at bantamweight. And he's done him the same, you know. It was just so annoying for me, because I know how talented Petr Yan is, but he just had no answer for Merab. He just kept on spamming takedowns, spam, and it just fucking wound me up so much. And for that is why it's simply one of the outcomes that really haunt me, simply because of the performance from Petr Yan and the performance from Merab as well. Again, he just kept on spamming Petr Yan and had no answer for it. And when he did succeed with takedown defense, it still just wasn't enough. He couldn't win the fight. You know, he wasn't doing anything for him. So for me, it's got to be in my top 5. Moving on, we have Stipe Miocic beating Alistair Overeem. Now, this might not actually bother many people, but I'm a big Alistair Overeem fan. Ubereem. I loved that man. One of my favourite heavyweights of all time. Him and Mark Hunt are my favourite heavyweights of all time. And yeah, this one really hurt me, because it was Alistair Overeem's last chance at UFC Gold, and he fucked it up. I think this might have been his only chance at UFC Gold as well. He's held the title in every other organisation that he's been in. apart from the UFC, and this one really stung for me, especially considering that Alistair Overeem had Stipe hurt, he dropped him, and then he looked for a submission and wasn't able to get it. This is where the infamous meme came from, where he's like, I clearly failed to tap. And yeah, Stipe was able to capitalise and able to finish Alistair Overeem. And this one really just sits with me because I really wanted Overeem to have been one of those fighters who won a bout in every single organisation that he went into. And that just wasn't the case, unfortunately, and we never got to see it. However, he's still a legend of the game, but this one still haunts me to this day because I love Alistair Overeem. After this, we have Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier 2. Now, this one's a bit of a weird one. It was just a feeling I had seeing Conor McGregor get knocked out. I don't know, it just felt so strange, and it still lives with me to this day. It just didn't feel right. I don't know what it was, and I'm a massive Dustin Poirier fan. I would say I'm more of a fan of Dustin Poirier than I am Conor McGregor. It left me in a weird situation. I was really happy for Dustin Poirier, but it just felt so weird seeing Conor McGregor just flat out finished. It just didn't feel right in the slightest. I think going into it, most people thought that Conor McGregor was going to beat Dustin Poirier, at least going into that fight. A lot of people probably switch up now like, oh, I knew from the start. No, you fucking didn't. Shut up, man. Maybe you did, but for the most part, most people had Conor McGregor winning that fight, and McGregor did look very good in the first round, but it was just those leg kicks what were playing a big factor, and then he got finished, you know, he was on the back foot, his leg was fucked, and Dustin Poirier was sticking it on him, throwing combinations, and McGregor just had no answer really. He couldn't really do much, he couldn't really move because of his leg being compromised, and he got flatlined, and I don't know, it just felt so weird seeing it. There'll be a lot of people out there who loved it, and maybe it doesn't haunt them in the slightest. Again, each to their own, but to me, I liked McGregor at times, and I also despised McGregor at times. I don't know what it was. Growing up, I liked him and hated him. It was weird, but it just never felt right seeing him get finished. I don't know, it just felt so strange to me, and it still haunts me to this day. And then the final one for me, Volkanovski taking on Islam Makhachev in the second fight. Now this one, what more? There's so much to it. The first fight was so close. You know, Volk put in a fucking great performance for himself. Everyone was expecting Islam Makhachev to win. And, you know, Volk made it very competitive where a lot of people believe that Volk actually won the first fight. And then came along the second fight. It was meant to be Islam Makhachev taking on Charles Oliveira, the rematch. And then unfortunately Charles had to pull out. So Volk stepped on like, was it a week's notice, a week and a half notice. And he got flatlined in the first round. And, oh man, it's just so brutal. Especially in the press conference afterwards, you know, with all the things that he said. That, like, he felt like he had to take this fight to, like, keep himself mentally, you know, all there and all that. It's just very hard to... It's very hard to, you know, it's just a harsh fucking reality of the sport, you know, and it just didn't feel right, and it just felt like such a ruined opportunity considering if Volk didn't take this fight on short notice, say they gave it to Gamrot or something, you know, Gamrot could have had a fucking rematch down in the line, working his way back up. Volkanovski, a bit more on the older side, you know, it's hard to sell a fight when you're 0-2. And when you get a flat line in the first round as well. And it felt like he just jeopardised his moment to take the risk of taking a short notice fight. You had such a great performance in that first fight. He could have had another banger, another classic fight where he could have potentially won, potentially had a close fight again against Islam Makhachev in a rematch. And that feels like it's just gone now. And then you factor in the whole thing, what's gone on with Ilia Topuria a few months later on where Volks came back way too soon and got finished again. It's just, it just adds more salt to the wound, and it's hard not to feel bad for Volkanovski. Like, after what he said as well, he was like, not fit. I don't think he was really training that much. I think he was drinking beers like a few weeks out from that fight with Islam Makhachev. He really just shouldn't have taken this fight. In hindsight, it just wasn't the best of ideas. And it's unfortunate now that, like, he's no longer even the champion at 145. Before the Islam Makhachev fight, everyone was always wanting to see the rematch between the two. And now he hasn't got the title, and no one's really bothered about seeing the fight again, in my opinion. And it just kind of sucks. And now we've got to wait ages until we see Volkanovski back in the octagon, because he's got to allow himself to heal. It just sucks if you're Volkanovski. And I feel like an MMA fan in general, I don't feel like Volkanovski has many haters. I feel like most people believe he's a stand-up guy and just want to see him succeed. And at the moment, he's just taken 2 back-to-back L's. You know, 3 L's within the span of a year and a half. It just doesn't feel right. Yeah, it just sucks. This one's like probably the top one what's most saddest for me. It really does suck. But those are the 5 fights that haunt me the most. Let me know in the comment section which fights haunt you the most. You know, do some of the fights that I've mentioned actually bring some joy to you? Are you actually happy with the outcomes of some of these fights? Or do you agree with me where it still haunts you to this day and that they're very sad outcomes? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.